In 2 weeks, the state Republican Party will meet to hold its convention, but it is still unclear who will be topping the ticket for the GOP. Rick Lazio claims to have enough support to block Steve Levy from getting on the primary ballot. But there is talk of manipulating the rules to give the party-flipping Suffolk County executive a chance. That is something my next guest hopes does not happen. Mike Long is the State Conservative Party chair. He announced today that he will hold his nominating convention before the Republicans. And if all goes the way Long wants it, his party will officially back Lazio. Chairman Long joins us tonight from New York City. Thanks for your time, Chairman.
Good to be with you, Liz.
So let's get right to it. What made you decide to hold your convention before the Republicans? Because that is sticking it to them a little bit. You are trying to force the issue for your preferred candidate, Rick Lazio.
Well, look, I said from day one, since March 20th, when the State Executive Committee recommended that Rick Lazio be our candidate, I said from that day forward that I could go early or later. My hope was that this silliness in the Republican Party would have ended and that we could have went in there united, and I would have no problem then going after the Republican Party convention. But I'm just not going to sit around and wait for them to give me some kind of message of what I'm supposed to do. I'm the leader of the Conservative Party. My responsibility is to lead. My responsibility, I believe Rick Lazio is the best possible candidate for the Conservative Party. And my obligation is to hold a convention and put forth the best statewide team so that we can effectuate a real impact and come November. And by impact, I mean by winning the election.
Your decision has actually sort of created a bit of a firestorm in the Republican Party. You have Rick Lazio saying that your decision is proof that he is in fact going to be the nominee of both parties, that he has sufficient support. You have Levy's campaign saying, no, in fact, this is being done because you are afraid that Rick Lazio doesn't have sufficient support, and you're trying to shore him up. You're laughing, so I assume that you do not agree with that statement.
No, I don't agree with that statement. Look, I'm very confident. I just this week have traveled extensively upstate, and every place I go, from my perspective, Rick Lazio is the front runner in the Republican Party. Clearly, I wanted to put to rest the decision-making in the Conservative Party. I believe the congressman is going to be the gubernatorial candidate on the Conservative Party line. I believe he's also going to be victorious at the Republican convention. So I wasn't going to sit around and some people were saying if you go in later, it means you're hedging your bets. Well, I'm not hedging my bets. I'm putting my money on the table, and I'm going to effectuate the leadership that I'm charged to do and responsible to do, and put a ticket together. And I can't wait to get a message from some other political party who might want me to go in one way or the other. I pick candidates. I don't pick parties.
We should say that the reason why this is so important is because the statewide ticket for the Republicans, the gubernatorial candidate, has only been successful, or has never been successful, I should say, without the conservatives at their side. And there has been times in the past when these two parties have diverged, and it's been potentially disastrous because the idea is that you're going after the same group of voters, correct? That's what's going on here?
That's correct also. And the other reason, Liz, that I went early is as I travel around the state and I answer phone calls in state headquarters, various Republicans call me to ask me, is it true, or even the press call me at times, is it true that you're waiting to see what happens, and if someone other than Lazio gets the nomination, you're going to switch gears? Well, no, we're not switching gears. Rick Lazio is our candidate for governor, and we're not moving any other way but forward.
But what happens if Steve Levy ends up winning the primary and your prediction and your pick turns out to be wrong? Then doesn't that, A, help Andrew Cuomo, the presumptive Democratic nominee, but also really hamstring the Republicans from their potential win? I mean, you have a divided party, two parties instead of unity, which is what you said at the top of this interview that you were hoping to achieve.
Well, what happens there is, I mean, and I don't believe that's going to happen, Liz, but if that was to happen, Rick Lazio is going to be our candidate on the Conservative Party line. And I submit to you that I believe at that point, then the Republican Party is risking, they're risking annihilating themselves, having a Democrat run for governor on the Republican line. I think rank and file Republicans up and down the state of New York will vote for Rick Lazio on the Conservative Party line, period.
Well, I mean, if that happened and you got more votes than the Republicans did, then technically speaking, you could bump them from row B.
Now, I'm not looking to do that, but if that's what has to happen, that'll be fine. But I believe Lazio is the most competitive person in the race here. He's run statewide before. He ran against, you couldn't run against a more serious celeb candidate than Hillary Clinton. And I believe he has what it takes to lead this state in the right direction.
Have you spoken to State GOP Chairman Ed Cox, who is Steve Levy's biggest supporter, and you and he have actually butted heads a little bit in the past on this particular issue? Have you spoken to him about your decision, and also are you angry with him because of his potentially weakening of Lazio? His suggestion that Lazio couldn't raise money has actually become almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
No, look, I'm not angry with Ed Cox. I think he's wrong. I think he's taken his party in the wrong direction, but that's his responsibility, not mine. I know I'm responsible for what we do in the Conservative Party, and I know that I believe we're making the right decision. My belief is there is overwhelmingly enough Republicans from Niagara County to Montauk Point that, in fact, will break loose for Rick Lazio at the Republican Party convention, and that he will be the Republican and Conservative nominee for governor of the state of New York.
Now, by doing what you've done and